Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realness with 3 S's. I'm your host, Chantele Francis, with my favorite Wednesday Veto and Veto Ceremony co-host, Jonathan. How are you today, Jonathan?
I'm good, and I just noticed our backgrounds are really in sync today, and
Yes.
yeah, I'm
Well,
liking it.
even with like the purple and the gray from like the actual background for their kitchen. hmm
So,
So, this is the first time we've talked since last week. I mean, I can't believe the show's only been on a week. It seems like it's been on for longer. I don't know if it's because we were in like Celebrity Big Brother mode, but I'm like, oh, wait, literally the show has been on the air for 1 week.
I know. I
How do you
think it's
feel?
because it's been like one continuous, Big Brother.
Subscribe and join us on the replay. So, what do you think of so far of this season? How have you been feeling about it? We talked last Thursday, I believe,
Yeah.
about less than a week ago, about the premiere episode and the first like actual episode. How do you feel things have been going so far? What have you learned, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I'm still getting a feel for all of them. I actually don't love the cast all together. I think it's one of their weaker ones, to be honest with you. There's definitely more people standing out that I don't enjoy than I do enjoy.
Such
Um,
as
I mean, I mean, there's lots of people, but it's like I don't, with Marty, I'm like, I don't, yeah. I'm very meh with a lot of people at best, and I'm just like, I don't really care who goes, who's winning right now. People need to win me over, and it's just not happening yet. I don't know if it's part of the edit, if it's just the cast themselves. I don't know. Do you have your favorites? Because I don't have any favorites right now.
I don't have any. Well, I have people that I don't mind, but I do think it's because I watch the feeds or I know a little bit more what's going on. I don't feel like the edit is really showcasing all the different personalities and all the other conversations that are happening. It seems like a very basic edit as to like Marty's the head of household. He talks to one person and and nominates someone else. Like it's not there's a lot more that went on than what they showed us in the episode. A lot more Marty kind of flip flopping and like going back against his word. He, for me, has been a really, really irritating head of household
Oh,
because if you watched him on the
absolutely.
feeds, he was just like the whole time he's like, I want to make good TV. He's like, I want to keep my word. I don't want people on my family to see me lie to anybody. And so the whole time he kept on being like, I can't put Steph up because I really want to put Steph up, but I made that deal with her. And I'm like, what deal? There was no deal made. Like, you
Yeah.
proposed a deal, she didn't take it, and then she fell off the board. There's no deal. But he just kept on going on and on about his honor and his integrity and making good TV. And it was just like, I personally can't even listen to him.
Yeah, I don't like people pandering to cameras. I don't mind like a little like one off, like this is what I'm doing. But he kind of looked into the camera. I think it was last episode, not this current one, and was directly in with someone in his HOH room, directly talking to the cameras. And I'm like, okay, you can stop. I'm like, you just think that he thinks the world of his game right now, and I'm like, prove it, and then act like that. Don't you know? Kind of do it beforehand. So I'm not. He's rubbing me the wrong way just as a person. I'm like, I'm not enjoying. Um,
Agreed.
yeah,
One
sorry.
thing that he's doing that I know that you would probably hate, and I don't think they showed it in the last couple episodes, but he keeps on saying to people, like even for instance, Jacey-Lynne being like, "Well, look, you won the veto, like good job, like you like you're making good TV here. You like I put you up on the block, you saved yourself, and like now, like if you went after me next week and got me out, like I'd have to shake your hand and say good game." And I'm like, that's not good TV to me. Like, like you putting up somebody and them taking themselves off and then putting you up next week and you shaking their hand and saying good game. Like, you should come out of the second week head of household clean and everybody should still want to be working with you, even if you put them up as a nominee. They
Well,
still should not be gunning for you. And you also should not be like, here, come for me. I know I deserve it. Like you shouldn't be laying that open for people. I
offering
don't think.
yourself on the table. Yeah, I know. I mean, like we've talked about before, being first HOH lately has been beneficial to some people. So I mean, but at the same time, speaking of people that I do maybe possibly will enjoy, Jacey-Lynne is someone who just seems, I mean, from what I'm seeing on
Do you know
TV,
why you like her?
why she's normal.
She's a Libra.
Oh, there we go. Um, I can just sense my people. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, you just seem like a normal, balanced person who, spoiler alert, seems to be like, doing well in certain challenges and stuff like that. So you can potentially win things. And yeah, I mean, just someone who's like a decent person who's not just kind of, you know, acting a fool.
I totally agree, and I know a lot of people are, like, super anti-showmance. I like her and Gino. I do. I don't mind where their little flirtiness. It doesn't, like, annoy me or gross me out. Like, I think that it's very tolerable. It's not super mushy and, like, kissy, and, like, but
And I'm one of those people that don't enjoy showmance, but there has been a few that I've rooted on like throughout the years, and
such
um,
as Jeff and
um,
Jordan.
no, but there's been, I mean, there's a few. Even when like Danny was, oh god, what's the guy's name? He had longer hair at the time, and then cut it afterwards. Danny's was it original season? Yeah, I think it was her original season. Dick and Danny.
Oh, Danielle. Oh, and her husband, um,
No,
Dominic.
no. That was when she came back. But her original season, there was a showmance with don't remember his name, but he
On
had like
season 8.
he had longer hair. I mean, longer, and then now it's like short. But he like modeled after it, and maybe he played football or something. I don't know. Forget his name,
And
but
and he had a thing with Danielle or somebody else?
yeah, no, with her, yeah, her original season.
Season 8, who was on that? She would have a
And
showmance type thing with her dad in the house. That was, like, with, like,
that
Eric
was her original season,
Stein.
wasn't it? It was her. I'm pretty sure it was her original
I
season.
mean, I'm not saying that you're wrong.
I mean, I could be wrong,
Um,
but that's like one of the ones that I originally remember being like, okay, I'm okay with this, because I liked both of them at the time. Um, I wish I remembered his name though.
oh, not
Like really good looking, obviously. They were. Was it her? It was her. Wasn't it her? Or am I confusing her with someone else right
I'm
now?
not sure. Hold on, I'm not sure yet. Let me buy some time here while we talk to the chat. So DM Rocks is in the house. Hello, hello. Saying on the feed, Summer tells everything to the boys about what her and Tanisha says. So she DM Rocks is talking about the Savage Seven. So the boys in the Savage Seven. You did notice that they did like that whole sign in the diary room, correct?
Okay. Can I just talk about that for a second?
Mm-hmm.
Um, do not enjoy. I didn't enjoy it when it was a TikTok thing. Do not enjoy it. Period. Like, don't watch NBA, but wouldn't have enjoyed it on the NBA thing. The sheesh, don't enjoy. So that's gonna drive me crazy. And there's people that somewhat enjoy or could enjoy. That, yeah, it's Nick Starcevic or whatever his
Oh,
name is.
Nick!
Yeah,
I liked
remember?
Nick. He did have
Exactly.
longest hair. I just saw his name too, and I was like, "Ah, yes." I did
Yeah,
like him as well,
yeah.
and I liked them
See,
together.
yeah, so that was like kind of my origin story with that. But anyway, that sheesh thing, I wish it was anything but that. That just drives me crazy. I don't like
Well,
it.
don't worry. It's probably already dismantled that alliance.
Okay,
So don't
okay.
like nobody really is true to that alliance right now. And we have Jess in the house. Hello, Jess. I know other things are being aired right now and probably tons of other podcasts. So thanks for stepping in and saying hello to us as well. So let's talk about this episode. I mean, it wasn't really that eventful. I did like in the beginning where they're like BB Can, like having their little dance and song. I can get into that kind of entertainment for sure. We see Jay and Summer talking about the nominations, and Summer is quite funny, just kind of like, "Oh my god, the game is so real," and Jay is making her laugh by saying how he plans on taking himself or themselves off the block. So how are you feeling about Marty's nominations? That being Jay and Jacey-Lynne.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things. And before I forget, I just want to say I lived in St. Catharines, where Summer is from. Where have you? There's just like people like 70 plus there and students. So I don't know where Summer's been hiding, because like there was not
She was a
fun people.
baby. That's why. Like she's
Okay,
like
there you go.
she's in her
Don't.
20s.
Yeah,
So like a decade
it was
ago.
20 years ago that I was living in St. Catharines, but I'm like, that's not the St. Catharines I remember. Like, there wasn't fun there. No offense, I love St. Catharines, but it was just an older population. But his noms, I just don't know that he has a great kind of. It's not about the noms themselves, but it's just his realization of what's happening within the house. And I don't know if he has a great idea of or a strategic kind of mind to position himself really well. Like, I haven't seen what those noms are really going to do for him, like a real plan kind of put in place. And so that's kind of what I'm lacking with those nominations. Uh,
Absolutely. Like, I haven't seen anything that Jay has done to make themselves look like a threat or that they are coming after Marty. From what I've seen, they aren't coming after Marty. Um, I think that the biggest problem that they had was the fact that they had safety the first week. And with that safety, they didn't make a lot of strategic relationships with a lot of different people. They were just making social bonds. And I think that that's what hurt them in the end was that they didn't talk enough game to Marty and all the other people that are making this decision this week.
yeah, which happens with sometimes people aren't active enough in the first week, as well as anytime someone has safety, they sometimes just rely on that as opposed to like play like you need to, you know, save yourself that week. You need to be playing like you're trying to save yourself every single week. It's a mistake I've seen time and time again. So
Absolutely. Like you said that you would be running down those staircase and throwing your mom off the railing just so you can get that phone call to get that safety. So how would you have played this week differently than Jay has from what you
oh,
know?
I would have been very involved. I mean, I would have been, made sure that the HOH didn't think I was sucking up to them, but that I wanted to be included with them in regards to like what was happening, and I just would have played it very differently. I would have first taken a look at the because you can't go all out, all social to every single person. So I would just see kind of what that I would take like half a day, see what kind of where Marty lies and just kind of where his social circles are, and then attached myself to those same social circles initially, just to kind of get my footing that first week, and then you can expand upon that. So that's what I would have done, just to give yourself, because if Marty's going to talk to certain people and you're kind of catching it out the side of your eye, you're going to know, when they talk, if you're good with those other people, then Marty would then say, okay, I probably want to keep this person. You'd probably be on my side as well. So just position
Well,
yourself right, do what you need to do, play the game.
and I agree. I would if I were safe that first week, I'd be like, "Oh, I'm safe, so let me hang out with all the other safe people. So let me hang out with Marty, let me hang out with Moose, let me hang out like with well, I guess it would have been the week before. So it wouldn't have been Marty, it would have been Herman, it would have been Moose. Like I would have formed something with all the other safe people that week. That was 4 people that were safe and start talking game, like be in on that, like those nominations as
Yeah,
well. And
that
so
way.
that
Yeah.
you would have been part of that, maybe brought into some of the alliances. Jay, Jess, and Kevin, I believe, are the only 3 people that are not in any alliances in the house at all. And that's a bit of a problem. Now, Kevin has made a lot of more one-on-one connections and he does seem to be playing the game a little bit better than Jay is, but neither of them have made any actual alliances, and there are a gazillion alliances in the game.
Yeah. And
Not a
with Big
gazillion, but like
Brother,
10.
we've played a lot of online Big Brother games, and that's like the first thing you do in Big Brother. It's very different than Survivor. It's you need to make those alliances like that in Big Brother, and that will often carries you. It's not something that you can kind of, sit by and just rely on like being friendly with everyone. That's not going to do it. So you need to go quick in Big Brother.
So Rolly over here says Jay is seen as a threat because they were quick to run to the phone and answer it. Someone careless that is unpredictable. Well, I don't know if I agree with that. I think that, the phone did ring and I think people didn't want to get it and they were the only person that actually was really making an effort to go and answer the phone.
Yeah.
I think that they want to be entertaining. They want to really revel in the experience. I think that I I don't think that they felt that it was going to be something detrimental to their game.
I think that's an excuse that people could say afterwards if people are bringing that up against Jay. But in reality, I think anyone, including Jay, could have done the
Salvage their
same
game.
thing and just and been a-okay. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Roly, I did put in a link. Hopefully you could see that, and that's where you could watch the episodes live. And I believe you can also watch the live feeds from that link as well. That's all I know. Or go to hamsterwatch.com, and there might be other ways to watch. And maybe videobrother.net might be another thing, but I'm not 100%. Jess agrees. Safety week 1 is a blessing and a curse. LOL. People get too comfortable too quick. I think that Jay got too comfortable too quick and didn't really realize that everybody else was playing the game, keeping themselves safe, making deals, starting alliances, while they were just having fun, feeling safe, and not putting any strategic work into their game. So definitely a blessing and a curse. So we see Jacey-Lynne talking to Kevin. What an awkward conversation. Kevin is good about playing awkward.
yeah. I mean, just even how Kevin kind of like walks around the house is like kind of in character, which I really appreciate, even when like no one's there. And so I'm like,
He's in
okay, well,
it.
you've chosen your role, and sometimes you choose a role not because you've chosen it, but really because it was given to you, and then you choose to embrace it. And I think that Kevin's like really chosen to embrace like has realized kind of how he's seen and like how the first little bit's gone, and has chosen to embrace that. I mean, that's what you gotta do, so I can't fault Kevin for that.
Well, also, people now though are getting a little bit irritated by, or not irritated, but are noticing that he puts himself down a lot. And so Tanisha said things like, "Oh, you really put yourself down a lot." Like, so I hope that he shifts his game a little bit better and gains a little bit of self esteem, because he's laying it on thick. Like, oh, I just don't. The game's moving so fast. Like, I don't know what's happening, and I don't want to go. It's like
Well, you
nobody's
need
really
you
that would have auditioned for the show and got on.
and you need to be likable, no one wants to be around a Debbie Downer all the time.
No. So hopefully he will shift now that he's, well, spoiler alert, made it past week 2 without going on the block at all. So that is a hopeful that he has an upward trajectory in his game. The hugging part though, and she's like, "Would you want? Do you want to hug it out?" And he's like, "Well, actually, I don't like to hug. Like, I wish I'd like to hug, but I'm not a hugger." I'm just like, she's so awkward. But it's put on, which is wild. I hope he
Yeah,
gets out of that. I like Jacey-Lynne though too. I think that, I guess the more that I know her, the prettier she's getting to me. Like before, I was like, okay, she's okay, and now like, oh, she's getting a lot prettier. And so I think
yeah,
it's because I like her personality.
yeah, not that it matters, but it's like to be honest with you, I thought the same thing this episode. I was like, at first I was like, "Okay, Gino, I don't know if and then it was like this episode I was on board. I was co-signing that. Yeah.
I think I'm gonna figure out. I think I know why, and it's the same reason that Gino might have started to like her a little bit more too. So I really like this because I am a person that is very much into the power of positive affirmations, and that your thoughts create things and create the life that you want to live, et cetera, et cetera. And so Summer was having some affirmation sessions in the telephone room with Helena, Betty, and Jacey-Lynne. So what do you think about this? I know that you enjoy sometimes being curmudgeony. I think that's as part of your
Me?
character.
No.
But how do you feel about these positive affirmations that they're saying to each other?
It was a cute scene for sure. Some of it I was like, "Are these affirmations or these just
No,
yelling at yourself?" I'm
yelling
like,
at yourself.
yeah, I'm
Like
like,
Betty wasn't didn't do what I would consider being positive
yeah,
affirmations.
I was like, "This is weird." But I mean, a fun little segment. It's good to connect with people and be involved in that kind of thing and find moments to do stuff like that within the house that's not set up for that. So I thought that was fun. Yeah, and I like seeing it, even though it was a
A
little
little long.
awkward, maybe. Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I was surprised by, because I do believe in the power of, like, belief. I might have told you the story before, and I've told it online before, but 10 years ago or so, I was living in Montreal. My mom, oh, sorry, living in Vancouver. And my mom was like always telling me to, I had to listen to Rob as a podcast. Like, Rob Sesternit, like she would just go on and like was forcing me to like listen to these podcasts. I didn't have time to listen to these podcasts. So finally I started listening. And then I was like, oh, this is fun. Like I was never really into podcasts at all and like listening about these shows that I love. And I'm like, oh, so I started listening to everything of his. And at one point I was like, I affirmed, I'm like, I am going to podcast with Rob as a podcast one of these days. And then when Terrence started to do the live feed updates, I was like, one of these days I am going to podcast with Terrence. And these was like years and years and years and years ago. And
Yeah.
so I do feel as though I spoke that affirmation into the universe, and then it was eventually awarded to me, many years later. So I do feel like I really feel connected when people say things with meaning. And I was very much connected when Jacey-Lynne said, like, you were crying and you're being sad. I need you to suck it up and go out and win this. And I got like, I knew what happened, but I still got a wave of emotion over me because she said it with such conviction that I knew that it had to be true, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
How
I
did you
mean,
feel? Did you pick that up? Because I know you don't listen to spoilers.
yeah, I at the very least, and I did. It was confident. It was there's just a way that, whether people believe in stuff like that or not, and I do, but even if it's in the sense of that you are really giving yourself that motivation to make it happen. And she just sounded very like level-headed, and you kind of knew that she was going to take that
Yeah.
into the competition, and that's kind of
Mhm.
what you needed, and it was the perfect competition for that too. So
I so love when people can turn on focus. It's very powerful. So Jess says when he said that he wasn't a hugger, I felt that, LL. So I think that it is an Aquarius thing because I think you're a Taurus, but Aquarius, like I'm an Aquarius, and up until I don't know, maybe I was like 28 or so, I didn't like hugging. I wasn't a hugger or whatever. I've grown into being a little bit more emotionally connected. Like I used to never cry. Like I used to be very, very like get over it. Like definitely not connected to emotions, we'll say. And so I definitely didn't like hugging. I definitely didn't like holding hands and like stuff like that. I was just like, nah, stay away. Like I'm good. Like, hey, what's up? So I'm wondering if it's just because he's still also a little bit young, and then it also is playing into this awkward character that he's decided to put on.
to be fair,
Um,
I don't like hugging either, but we'll save that for my therapist on Friday.
So, love the part about the positive affirmation. Just changing your mindset can be so powerful. Absolutely, Jess. Speak it into existence. Exactly. I'm actually hosting a goals workshop that I started last weekend, and that's what we're doing. We're bringing people's goals by speaking them into the universe, speaking it into existence. So I totally am. I believe in that, and I'm happy that they showed that because there's a lot of people that think it's hogwash and like, what are you talking about that garbage? And like, that's just so hippy
Well,
dippy woo woo.
especially because they did play it up on Big Brother US, with manifesting things a few seasons ago with what's
Chrissy,
her name?
is that her?
Christy.
Was
Yeah,
that?
Christy.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
I loved seeing the Josh Jay friendship. They were kind of hanging out in the kitchen, both being Black, white, and Indigenous and queer. I really appreciated seeing their relationship, and I really loved how they both appreciated having someone like them in the house with them. So I thought that for casting wise, that was really really powerful that they had somebody to look to that was just like them. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
You didn't care.
absolutely. I mean, it's well, it's also something that like being in casting, it's something that I mean, I just look at it from a casting perspective, and I was like, oh, how did they, figure that all out? I mean, you can't ask certain questions about people, and so finding this, and I know some people might not like the casting process of the show, but I'm just gonna say I thought it was very interesting because you do have to like dig deep and dive in and let people speak to you and tell you the information that they want to tell you to find out this kind of stuff and put people together in an interesting way. And yeah, I was just like, oh, that's very true, and I'm glad that they're on a platform that they can speak to all of that they represent. So I liked those moments that we saw in today's episode as well.
Hundo, totes agreed. So Josh, Helena, are talking about wanting to keep Jay, and then Betty walks in and agrees that she would also like to keep Jay. Between, I know that you were saying that you really like Jacey-Lynne at this point. Would you rather, if you were in the house, do you think that you would have rather kept Jay or Jacey-Lynne?
Oof, putting myself in a position of knowing that Lynn could probably connect with some of the girls as I've been seeing, and with Gino, I mean, strategically, I would be keeping, unless I was close with Lynn, which I would try to be, but strategically, I'd be keeping Jay because I feel like he is probably looking for, or sorry, they are probably looking for people who are, you know, wanting to build some sort of connection or alliance or something like that. And Lynn is like,
A little bit too
kind of
connected.
too connected, someone who might be dangerous, no one would go for necessarily. So yeah, I would be, as a player, wanting to keep Jay. Keeping them in the house is important. As a person, I would connect more with Lynn. But again, if Lynn's connecting with everybody, that's a problem.
I totally agree with you. As much as I like Jacey-Lynne, I also would probably want to wrangle all the people that want to keep Jay. Um, that the outliers, like, I would be picking up Kevin and Jess and obviously Jay, Josh, who's in stuff but like not really active in any
Yeah,
alliance. Obviously Betty and Helena kind of on the periphery. Helena and Betty are in a women's alliance. It's called Man's Down, with them two and Summer and Tanisha, but that might have already dismantled because strategy wise, Helena and Kevin have been talking a lot and they kind of have like a final two. And so they're kind of working together. And she told Kevin about that, all that she's really good with those other three women. So kind of outed that. But other than that, none of those people have any really strong, firm alliances. And so it
yeah.
would be great to pick up all those people.
And I also feel like this episode showed a lot of that, with a lot of people seemingly like, you make those first alliances, but like, what's sticking, what's not. Once you build friendships and realize who you like being around and maybe are like minded with, then you'll want to, like, build alliances with them as well. And it felt, I don't know what it was about it this episode. I couldn't pinpoint it, but it definitely felt like things would shift and are shifting. So I think you nodded to that in the beginning of this, but I also felt it. We oddly enough.
So we have Marty yelling, it's time to pick players for the veto competition. How did you like, instead of having the chips in a bag, that they were spinning a wheel to pick the players?
Loved it.
I knew you would.
Yes, very like. I'm like, Wheel of Fortune licensing this out, or what's happening? But it was, yeah, no, I love the wheel. I was like, oh, this is so much more fun than a bag that you can't see. And I'm a traditionalist. Like, I enjoy, the keys that you turn and pull out one by one,
Love
because you
that.
see it more. You know what I mean? And like with a bag, you don't really. You just, it's a blind kind of pull out. You don't know how close they were to, what's next to the chip that they're touching. With the wheel, you do know how close they are.
Mhm.
So it's like, when Betty was selected, she was right next to two House Guest Choice. So I mean, it's always kind of like super interesting this way, knowing kind of exactly how it's happening rather than just a guessing game with what chips come from
Absolutely.
that bag. Yeah,
I don't care about random and chance, but, like, if I'm gonna care about random and chance, let me have the drama of a ticker that's going to be selecting one
yeah.
name or another name. You know what I mean? Like, give me a little bit of that
And it's unfortunate because I'm like, I know this is done this season because of the theme of it,
theme.
the season, but I'm like, I kind of want to see it again. like,
I don't mind
give
seeing
me,
it. That
yeah,
could
put it
stay.
back. Yeah, yeah.
Definitely could stay. And maybe it will. So Jess may not particularly like hugs, but I'm a huge empath, so I do give hugs when someone needs one. Absolutely. I'm a hugger now. I definitely hug. Well, maybe not COVID times, but I'm definitely definitely a huggy person now. I like the spinning better than the bag. Absolutely. We can
Okay.
see
Yeah.
all the names and we don't have to wonder if it's rigged. Unless there's somebody like underneath that's like stopping it at certain places, but like, or it's like on
It's like
remote control. Yeah, I was wondering. I'm like, I wonder if they. I was thinking that when I was watching it. I'm like, I wonder if they rig it, but like they just like they stop it awkwardly at like at a random time when it's like it's abrupt, so that like you're like, I think that they stopped that.
At the end of the day, it's just more fun. So, and it's visual, which TV is what it's about.
Yes. Oh my God. Bring back the key wheel on BBUS. Absolutely. I don't know why they got rid of that. I know it's
Let's
a time thing actually,
let's
but
turn it on the thing. I'm like, no, there's so much drama in the, and then
like,
spinning the thing and
like you're safe and like, thank you. And
so
like,
much better. Like, edit something else out. I don't care. You don't show us all the conversations anyway. Like, bring that back.
and like, does everybody have a key still or no? And is it like, yeah, I want everybody to have a key.
Yeah.
They don't know what we want at all. These people, they're ruining our game. And then they're going to bring it all to CBS. The challenge. Have we talked about that yet? What are your thoughts, briefly?
No, we haven't. I don't know anything about it. I've been like in my own world apparently.
Do you know anything what I'm talking about?
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't know.
Okay, so there is a new challenge series that's starting. So it's the Challenge CBS War of the Worlds. So I'm like, you guys did MTV did just do a trilogy, or like at least a
Like,
well, it's kind of a trilogy,
it's literally MTV is get licensing CBS the
I
series, so it's the
guess.
same series.
Similar. So the Challenge CBS, they'll have their own people from CBS reality shows that will be competing on it. And then in the UK, Australia, and Argentina, they will also have the challenge shows that they will be competing on. And then the winners of each of those seasons will all come together and compete in a final season of winners. So War of the Worlds is and who's going to be the ultimate winner.
I Listen, more reality I'm for. So I'm
But,
not gonna
like,
knock
it's
things
like
until I
people
see
that
it.
got the call was, like, Nicole Anderson Anthony, sorry, Anthony, and, like
Anthony Anderson from
no, Nicole Anthony
like what?
from
I was like Anthony
BB.
Anderson from To Tell the Truth. I'm like, I'd love to see him on it.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Well,
I heard Big D's in talks for b the Challenge 38.
I
I
mean,
think Tiffany is gonna be on the CBS The Challenge.
yeah, I have to see it before I can. I'm all for new things, and then let me like knock it down. But I'm for it. Despite some terrible people maybe being on it. I don't care. I can. There's people that you have to love to hate as well. So
Well, one thing that's good, and this I might be by myself here, but Cody Calafiore will not be on it because he's not vaccinated and he doesn't plan on getting vaccinated anytime soon. So he is not doing any shows. Stop asking him. That's what
oh
he said.
wow,
Is what he said. Janelle turned it down. I can't remember anybody else down
Mel has
at
long
this point.
COVID. See about her? Hear about
That's
that?
true. I did hear that she's still sick or
No,
like
I saw you all, going to
at
like
Disneyland.
Disneyland and all that. You weren't taking it seriously, so
Jess, I don't know how I feel. It may just depend on the casting. I feel like CBS people, they cast on MTV The Challenge, low key ruined it. High key ruined it. I don't like any of the Big Brother people on MTV as a challenge, personally. I'm still gonna watch it regardless. Yes, I'm still trying to figure out how I'm gonna cover it. Like that just seems like very challenging. I'm more interested in covering the overseas one because I feel like they're gonna do a better job casting. Um, but I don't know how that's gonna happen. It doesn't start filming, I don't think, or airing until the summer. They went into lockdown or quarantine, I believe this weekend. So it's a thing. So
okay.
just keeping you up to date with the real world, Jonathan, not the real world MTV. Okay, so the people that are picked are Jacey-Lynne picked Josh, Marty picked Betty to play, and Jay picked Helena to play. So this is definitely a good draw for the veto for Jay, considering we just saw Helena, Josh, and Betty all saying that they wanted to keep Jay in the game. So definitely a great veto draw for them. And they even talk about this after the veto draw ceremony, because they are all dancing and super excited about the possibility of having 4 against 1, basically.
Yeah, you can't really get a better pick, really. I was thinking about it, I'm like, that's almost as good as it gets. So, um, yeah, they were really happy about it.
They should
Enjoy the
be.
challenge.
They should be. So we see a little bit more of JCL and Gino. I've already mentioned how I like them together. They're definitely really more playful. They're talking about the type of people they've dated in the past. She dates the jocks usually. Thought it was cute that Gino used to be really skinny, 120 pounds, and then he started working out and filled out a little bit. I like their little showman, so it was cute.
Yeah.
And you're not
Yeah,
hating. I
the only thing I don't like is Gino, whenever this was in the episode, I can't even remember, but opening up the bathroom door and having a conversation with people
oh,
seated on the toilet.
he was seated on the toilet.
Gino? Yeah.
I
With,
did not.
yeah, it was a whole segment when, Kevin no, it was Marty. Marty was in the bathroom speaking to, um, I don't know everyone's names yet, but the guy who was HOH, not HOH,
Herman?
yes, yes, he was HOH, yeah. Herman and, Marty were having a conversation, and Gino opened the door and was seated on the toilet and just left the door open, like, for several minutes, and, like, as they were having that conversation.
I
Very
I
I
I
was
must
very
have blocked
uncomfortable.
it out.
I'm very uncomfortable with that. I'm all about, like, having your own space. I don't think, the bathroom should be bigger as far as I'm concerned, and I was very uncomfortable about it. But other than that, it was like Gino's, fine by me, but close the door when you're going to the washroom, please. Thank you.
I guess I blocked out that moment because I do not remember it at all. Um, so Kevin and Jess are talking about playing the role of being social outcasts. I want to like Jess more, but I don't find that I'm enjoying their vibe. I
Yeah.
was a lot more excited about them before the season happened, but
Yeah.
now I'm
And
just
here's
like,
the thing, when someone is so self-aware that they are that person and chooses not to do anything about it because they don't care. I think everyone should be about growth. I don't think you need to strive to be liked or, to be wanted by others by any means, but you have to assess kind of why people maybe are being rubbed the wrong way by you. And I think Jess is the type of person who does do that a lot in their life, because they come off as very abrasive and like you know just not likable, which also makes me wonder why they were cast. Because I'm not enjoying them. So I don't know. I don't know. It's
yeah,
maybe
even the interactions that they have with people, I'm always like, can't you just even sound a little bit more likable? Like, I just find that even in their tone, it's like it has like a I'm better than you sound to it, or I
yeah,
know best, or I'm smarter, or the way that I do it is the right way. And whether it is or it isn't, like I could just hear that in her tone all the time. And it's just not warm and likable. They're not likable.
yeah, I agree. And so it just like I said, it's weird how like what position they filled on during casting, but also just kind of just as a person. I mean, like I'm someone who you either like or you don't like, but I know
You can put on charm,
yeah,
Mr.
but I'm
Jonathan.
just always like, I wouldn't just sit in my kind of curmudgeon kind of thing and be like, well, that's tough and deal with it. And I just think that's just like not, I don't know. That's just so when I see it in others too, it's one of those things where actually pains me to watch it, and because they feel very closed off, and so I want more for them, and I'm just like, don't just make that your position in the house and then stick with it because it's not it's not going to get you very far. I don't think like you can be an outcast and that's fine. You can be different, totally for that, absolutely. But being unlikable is never. It's a social game, so I don't get it. I don't understand.
I also think that they're not funny at all. So there's just, at this point, doesn't seem like there's any redeeming qualities about hanging out with them. Like in the real world, maybe, they have all their artwork and stuff like that. So
Right.
maybe they're a little more likable and within their interests and in within people that understand like the world that they're from. But in this house, like, I don't know, crack a joke, be silly or be funny. I don't know. Just like do something to let your guard down, show a little bit of vulnerability instead of just being so closed off and kind of stiff and kind of
And maybe we'll get there, and maybe that's the whole point, is that casting could see that that could be an arc for their storyline, and could
mm.
be these moments of vulnerability that, whether we see outwardly or just maybe even in the diary room, it's, something that people can connect with. So that's my only kind of take with it that could possibly happen, is seeing that growth. I would probably guess that we're not gonna see it, but, it's but I mean, I'm like, maybe that's the one piece of, kind of hope that I'm holding on to with
Like,
Jess.
do you think that they will ever get Jess to host a competition?
Oof,
No,
not
right?
if it's
Because in this
avoided
one,
at
we
some
get
point.
Summer. Summer is so bubbly and yes, Summer can be petty and be a little bit like, have a bit of an attitude. Absolutely. But she's just so fun and likable. And she's hosting this veto competition, which was very cute. It was the Master Bakers competition. Lots of puns going on where they basically have to do the Michelle Fitzgerald challenge where you kind of had to build up stacks of, I don't know, these are going to be cakes, but on Survivor, it was just like wooden blocks. And you had different size little pillars that you had to make level and then put different tiers up. So, a very challenging, I would say, veto, because like if you're at all shaky, like, and you knock over a full layer, you have to go back to the beginning of that layer. So very challenging. And it doesn't look like Jacey-Lynne is that tall. So like having to lift it up and down off the conveyor belt and to like the resting positions, I thought it was really challenging. But Summer as the host was great. She was fun.
Yeah, and those cylinders were very thin, cut oddly, and you even saw the first time that Jacey-Lynne fell, that the the tops of the cylinders weren't all touching the base of the next cake, so it was very uneven, just by design. And I was like, is anyone gonna finish this comp? Like, I'm like, how did they test this out? And like, I mean, like, was anyone gonna finish? Was a real question of mine as it was happening, because it was, the slightest wrong move and it just all goes toppling down. And there was layer after layer after layer that you had to move back and forth across
There was
the
a
whole.
lot. I thought that it was, like, I would agree with you, when it was at, like, the 50-minute mark or something, and Jacey-Lynne was at the furthest along and had, I think, still had 2 more tiers to go, and it all came crashing down. I was like, "Maybe it's not possible, like, to get 2 more tiers on top of this," and the person that's doing the best is, like,
Yeah,
still keeps on fumbling.
yeah,
I definitely felt bad for Jay as well. They got pretty far along, and at one point, all of their blocks tumbled down, and they took it pretty hard. They kind of had a little bit of a
yeah.
tantrum.
They threw a piece at one point, and I mean, honestly, I might have done the same thing. Like, I can keep like cool under pressure, but like I would have been so upset and so frustrated with this, because I love the challenge. By the way, it felt different. I love anything to do with baking. It was one of those things where you need to not it's skill, but it's like about being cool, calm, and collected in the moment, especially when so much is on the line. So it's a different kind of skill set than we sometimes see. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. But yeah, I felt bad for Jay as well, because they were super frustrated, and
Mm,
rightfully so, because this
hmm.
is your whole
Their
life
life
and
is on the
dream
line,
that you.
and the only person that's doing equal or better than you is the
Mhm.
person that you don't want to win.
Exactly.
So that would be really frustrating that Jacey-Lynne was doing so well, and the 3 people that were supposed to be playing for them were not
And
even in contention.
and I know Jay was a few rows away, but facing Jacey-Lynne, and Jacey-Lynne, I felt like no one was in front of her. So I was like,
Mm.
even psychologically, that's like very freeing. So I was like, ooh, yeah,
That could have been very helpful for focus and concentration.
yeah, I agree.
Definitely not being able to see people in front of you. But what I think, the most is that because she is a professional figure skater, that she knows how to focus, and that's kind of what I'm
Mhm.
linking to the moment when they're doing the affirmations, that I was like, I felt that she's, like, realized that she needs to kick it into gear and win that veto, and she knows how to put on performance energy or put on focus for competition. Like, it's a different type of beast is being locked in, zoned in, ready to compete. And I think that that's what Gino saw when he was watching. He's like, "Oh, she's doing really well. I think it's kind of hot." It is hot when people do something when they get really focused and they are successful. So that's why
Yeah.
we love professional athletes. We love actors that are like super good at their game because they get focused and locked in, and that is so attractive. Being so good. And
And
so I
just
love seeing it.
the little things as well, like, you didn't really see her turning around and panicking when she dropped, and turning to see how, like, anyone else was doing, and it's that confidence in just kinda, like, staying in your lane, knowing, you just need to do well for yourself, and having that focus that I really appreciated, and a steady hand. I'm shaky as anything, so that would have not been my challenge. I wouldn't have gotten past the first layer of cake. But yeah, it was a great challenge. I was very impressed. I was like, okay, all right.
So some of the puns that we got was fake it till you bake it. Slow and steady wins the bake. What was the other? Is that all that I got? And then Master Bakers. I guess that's it. So definitely Betty saying that she was only a 7 for wanting to win this. I'm like, win it for Jay, if anybody. Don't be like, oh, like I'm not gonna try to win this. Like, win it for Jay. It would be very good for your game if you could solidify something with Jay, take Jay off the block, then you would have a group of people that are working together and you'd have something really solid that you would have started. So I'm only a 7 for wanting to win this. I thought you wanted to be a comp beast, business Betty, business B. I was annoyed.
Yeah, Betty's not living up to their name as far as like
Mhm.
all their power names. So I was like, I don't know about Betty.
Me too. Me too. So we do see Jacey-Lynne win. She was very excited. Everybody that was watching, it was quite riveting. I don't know if you've ever taken an acting class where you like a Meisner class where you do knocks and activities. And in a knock in an activity, one person is in the room and doing something really difficult. So I feel like Jacey-Lynne was doing like the activity where you do something very difficult, and then someone's supposed to usually come in and knock on the door, and then you're supposed to like disrupt the activity that you're doing to answer the door, and then you start this like back and forth Meisner scene.
Hmm.
So I just felt that that was what was going on with her. Like, it was so riveting, even though it was so basic what she was doing. Like, I've seen people build house of cards or do like intricate puzzles and or like sticky, like doing things with toothpicks. Like, I've just seen so many different activities that are very basic, but like because there's so much focus and concentration that it's still riveting. And then you hear the door knock, and you're like, oh my god, like what's going to happen? Like, so I thought it was very compelling watching Jacey-Lynne take on this competition,
Oh,
and she
absolutely.
won.
I mean, look at the Great British Bake Off. It's like so dry, but because there's so many technicalities and things that can go wrong, that it's slow paced. But it's the same kind of concept, right? And yet it's like a number one show. So for that very reason, because it is riveting, it's really interesting to watch, and you're like edge of your seat.
And I knew what happens, and I was still like, I was in it still. Like, yeah, I thought I was happy to watch that competition. Some competitions, like, we don't need to see every single person go. No, but this was very entertaining, I found. Jess says, being a figure skater, she's got to be good with being steady and balanced. Absolutely. And she even mentioned that she thinks that she would be good for those reasons. Hi, M. Moses. So JL killed that comp. Yes. I take my hat off to her. Absolutely. I think that she is going to be a comp beast. And I think that that's what I said about her preseason. I feel like she's good. Her and Gino are going to become like a comp beast couple.
Jess, I
Same
mean, I
Jonathan.
can like this is like on, you know what for no reason. I don't even drink caffeine. It's just how I am. So
I'm not great with things that are light that I have to be steady with, but like I think if anything has a weight to it, I think I could be okay. Um, but like I don't
it's
know
like
if I
my
had to like
inner
put
anxiety trying to come out through like my hands. I'm a shaky person.
shaky. I like sometimes like I know you don't drink, but I remember
Yeah.
like sometimes you get like a plastic shot glass, and like I just find that they're too light. So like I'll be like because it's just so light. Like I want it heavier. Like give me glass, but people just think I have to
I
shake.
feel like I don't drink, but I feel like I've been in a situation where a similar thing, like it's the weight's not what you mentally think it is, so it totally throws you off.
I'm just like I can't. Like I don't even know how to put it to my mouth. Like it's too light.
Yeah.
So definitely super excited that JCL won this competition. But after I cried for Jay and Josh are really upset about the outcome of this competition. And Jay cries to Josh in the, I don't know what we call that room right now, in the chess room.
Mm,
Um, I got emotional. Did you?
no. I I think it's a little. I mean, listen, if Jay's like, "Oh, I know I'm going home," then I could understand it more. But I'm like, and even in that conversation, they were talking about how stuff still can be done. And so, yeah, I just felt, I hope that they stay, and I hope that they're not as emotional as that throughout the whole game because I don't love that. But I did understand the moment where they were saying that they don't want to it they don't want it all to be over. And I mean that hit, it really did. So and I get that, and I'm never gonna fault someone for having an emotional moment, obviously, but I was just like, oh, I wonder if this is like a sign of things to come, or like have your moment, absolutely, all for it. And it was a great connection and moment that we could see on TV for them supporting each other, which is important. So
Yeah. I mean, I totally understand where you're coming from too, wondering if it's going to be if that was them throwing in the towel basically. Feeling as though their only shot at staying was to win that competition. It feels like that to me, but I really did connect with how upset he was that they were pretty close. They were close to getting it done. But Jacey-Lynne was just a little bit better. And so
oh, Jay was
sucks.
like second best. Yeah.
Mhm.
And Jay probably would have got it if JC-Lynne wasn't in the competition. But
Mhm.
so yeah, I mean it does suck, and when you're like, knowing that that could be your ticket home. So we'll see.
So we see Betty being hard on herself talking to Jess, and Jess was giving some sort of advice to like not give up and that they're going to talk to Marty and if they hear anything about Betty being a potential renom option, they would let her know. And Betty isn't not really that nervous about it because Marty did say just, kick your feet up, kick your feet up. Like he said that many times to many different people that they don't have to worry at all about the block. So
Which is always
I
such a red flag. Like, don't start promising the world to everybody too, because you can't necessarily keep all of those promises. So just say you don't have any intention on doing it. Like that's someone who knows to play the game. Like at this point, I don't see you going on the block. You can say to people, or I don't know. I don't know. I'm Marty's rubbing me the wrong way.
I'm not a fan either. Jess says when Jay dropped it all, Summer goes, "That's how the cookie crumbles." Yes, it was.
Mhm.
Or
The
this case,
cake.
cake.
Yeah, I
Yes, she
remember that.
did. Thank you, Jess. I knew that there was more. There were more of these puns, cake puns. It would be frustrating to have things continuously fail. I understand Jay's frustration. Absolutely. I mean, there is a lot riding on this competition, and I felt for them. Made me cry, absolutely, especially with the connection that they have with Josh. I think that that's something also that they didn't want to end yet, because it's a new friendship, it's a new love, it's a new person in your life for forever potentially. You don't necessarily want it to end there when you're just getting to know each other. So sigh, 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 sigh. So Marty talks to and tells Jess that Kevin is who he was planning on putting up as the renom. Then Kyle and Marty talk. And so Kyle, he basically tells Marty that Betty is the person that Marty should put up. Now, this is where it also irritates me, Marty's game, is that like he's the whole time wanting to play super loyal, super like honest, like being truthful, saying what you're doing, like to people's faces. And he made a promise to Betty that he wasn't going to put her up on the block. He also made this promise to Stephanie, but why did he allow Kyle to let him go against his word against Betty?
And it was very like, Betty's the one you're putting up,
Yeah,
kind of a
he's like,
thing. I was just like, oh, Kyle. I'm like, Kyle, you're like gonna be good at this. Like, I know there was some hesitation because of why Kyle was cast, and now I'm like, oh, maybe he's really persuasive and like good at this game. So, I mean,
there's
I was
something
impressed
else
with
that
that
you
kind of
didn't
like
see though that made me
what
not enjoy Kyle. Hmm?
maybe not, but just from the moments that I saw on TV was just him kind of saying it and then it not being taken like, oh, I'm being told what to do, and just being like taken as like, yeah, that's what I need to do. And I was just very impressed by that kind of whole move on
He
Kyle's
is an
behalf.
alliance though. Him, Marty, Gino, and right now it's Moose. It has been admitted that Moose and Kyle did know each other before the season, so that's known. I don't know if it's known to everybody in the house, but it's out. They
Which
also want to
has that
get
ever happened before
in
that we
Canada.
know of, just in general, other than like
Well, definitely like
purposefully?
Chrissy and Tommy knew each other
Yeah,
in the
like unless
house.
like you're actively, I feel like, but this was a mistake, right? Like this was like not like casting wasn't aware of it.
I think Chrissy and Tommy was a mistake as well, wasn't it? Wasn't she like a replacement? But
Oh, I thought that
and
was on purpose.
I don't think it was on purpose.
Oh.
Um, there's somebody else that knew each other. I can't remember right now. Chat, you guys might remember other people that have known each other when they got into the house, but didn't realize that they made it through casting.
Because it's kind of like out of everybody, yeah, a large population, you can't pick people that just don't know each other. It's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, seriously. But getting people 23 and 24, like I would probably know a lot of people my age that onto the show, possibly more likely anyways than these youngins. But so they want to get rid of Moose out of that group because Moose is a little bit of a loose cannon and they want to bring in Herman into this boys club.
Oh,
So
what?
so
I don't
that
know.
is also happening, which is one of the reasons why Marty is definitely listening to Kyle. They are in a pretty strong alliance. They think that they're the strongest guys in the house, obviously. Kyle is from the East Coast right now. So like he has that bond with Marty. So the thing that you didn't see, and I'll just say it briefly, is that Jay ends up confronting Kyle in the storage room, saying that you're working with the guys, and kind of calls out his boys' alliance, or like the men from the Savage Seven. Anyways, it's confusing, but calls out a bunch of people that he's working with. Like, you guys are all working together. You have a boys' alliance, whatever. Kyle obviously denies this, but like he's like, Jay was like, I'm coming for y'all, you guys. I want to take you guys all out. I'm gonna win that veto, and like I'm going to take myself off, and then I'm coming for you. So he's basically threatens Kyle before the veto. Then he loses the veto, and he decides to talk to Kyle again and kind of smooth things over. And in that smoothing things over, it did not happen at all. And basically, Kyle was, in my opinion, kicking Jay while they were down. So saying things like, why should I give you my vote? I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure you're out the door this week. And like, I'm not going to, like, he was just like, I
I
thought he was
mean,
taking it too far. And
I
then
think I think you have every right to do that, especially if someone's gonna approach you cocky before, they're maybe not winning something and like confront you like that. I don't know. I'm
It
okay
was a
with it.
little bit much, and then he did do something that they probably won't show. So he was like, "Oh, so you're just gonna take down all the guys, like boom, 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 boom." And Jay took that as Kyle making monkey noises at him, and so that became something interesting that kind of came up into the house. And then Kyle also really went around and was just like how he was speaking about the conversation that had happened. It just he, in my opinion, didn't he didn't his the confrontation that he had with Jay, I don't feel like he handled it well. And from my perspective, it didn't put him in a good light for me. He might be fine in the house, but for me as a viewer,
Right.
I don't enjoy him. Definitely Jay, I do feel as though they didn't approach them or him properly, but um, it just it all was really icky, and I didn't like how either of them handled themselves in
I'd
this
I'd have to
situation.
see it. Like, in general, I actually don't enjoy Jay. I'll just put it out there. I don't. But and it's and you know, it's I know a situation where they're on a show, so they're being flashy potentially, but Jay is just not someone that I would vibe with or connect with at all. But I would love to see that clip to really kind of assess
I'll see if I
how
can find
they're.
it for you. Um, Anna says Kyle's game is will blow up. Hi, Anna. Thank you for being
Well,
here.
if Kyle's acting like that, then yes, quite possibly sooner rather than later.
And when JJ walked into the room, they handled that poorly. Um, yes. Oh, right. Oh, sorry. Yeah, he, as in Kyle. So, yeah, Kyle was like kind of retelling the story, and then Jay walked in, and it was just like awkward. It was just like there's a lot of not good with how Kyle was handling the confrontation with Jay. I like Jay. I find them interesting. I think that I would get along with them in the house. I think that I would have to teach them how to play the game,
Mhm.
and kind of have to be like, okay, don't say this, don't say that, go do this, go do that. I would definitely have to tell them what to do. I think, but I do enjoy them, and they do have a fashion show, so we'll see if we'll get the fashion show in tomorrow's episode.
I can appreciate the fashion show, but yeah, we'll see. There's a lot more to come, and starting to warm up to certain people potentially. So,
You are right, Jess. Holly and Kat Dunn did know each other in BB21 from Stagecoach. Yes.
oh, and that was definitely a mistake. That was like,
Hmm. I meant Kyle handled that poorly. Yes, yes, yes. I understand now. I don't think it played well with either house guest as he thought. Yeah, I think that they both handled it poorly, but Kyle, I felt it was just kind of punching down. I don't know. I didn't like it.
unnecessary.
Exactly. Jay is a goner regardless. Exactly. It was yeah, it was just if you see it, you might understand more so why I didn't appreciate it. All right, let's just get to the end of this little episode here. So, um, basically, yeah, we already mentioned that Kyle suggests Betty, and for the fact that now Betty wouldn't be able to gather any numbers, voting for Jay to stay. So it is something that was being spoken about. I don't know if it actually would have happened unless they had the numbers for sure, but this is what they're trying to prevent with having Betty being the renom. So Kevin and Marty, Kevin also suggests Betty. So Kevin and Betty are talking, and Betty's like, "I'd be devastated if I went up," and so Kevin would also be devastated if he goes up. And Betty doesn't think that it's going to be her, but Kevin's like being like, "Well, maybe you should talk to Marty and like make sure things are good." And you know what? Kevin takes that advice though, and he goes and talks to Marty to make sure that he's good, and he throws Betty under the bus. Like, I think that was fair game. And it's another person that's saying that maybe Betty should be an option.
Yeah.
So Kevin refuses to be a pawn any longer. And when we're going to get to the renomination or the veto ceremony, Marty does it. He puts up Betty in replacement of Jacey-Lynne, who took herself off the block. Betty's not happy. And Betty, after this, was pissed at Kevin. Like, just being like, don't ever talk to me again. I don't ever want to talk to you ever again. Like, that's
But like,
never going to change.
does Betty have any agency in the game right now?
No.
so it doesn't really matter. I mean,
Yeah,
as
I
much
think that's why he did it, because he's like, she has no power. She's not good at competitions. I'm not really
yeah,
scared of the the backlash that he might get.
right,
So
right, right.
whatever. So that is it. So now it's Betty versus Jay on the block. And I don't think that there's any way that Jay will do anything that they need to do to stay in the game. I
Mhm.
think that the only way that Jay would stay is if Betty is too much of herself and puts her foot in her mouth, because they don't care about people's
Jay's been
feelings.
really Jay's been really flashy, and I mean that's gonna stand out. Whereas Betty, for me, it just seems like more of just like background, not really a threat, not really connected. So I mean, if I was just a house guest amongst them, I would absolutely be voting Jay out.
Out now instead of Betty.
Jay out. I mean, when it was Jacey-Lynne versus Jay, different story. Betty versus Jay, I would be voting Jay out. I think Betty's someone that I could gather. Jay would be someone who's a little more like you said, but you'd have to teach them. You would have to like say what to say, what not to say, all that kind of stuff. I think it's
Betty's like
easy.
that too, though, in my opinion.
I don't know. I think I think it's easier. I think Betty is less flashy, and so someone who, even if I had to do that with, it's easier to I don't have to fight if that's kind of where the house is going anyway. You know what I mean? To get
Mhm.
Betty to stay. So I don't know. I would personally vote OJ.
I think that I'd actually maybe keep Jay, because they would be a little bit of a target. They'd be who many people would want out. And so I might want Jay to stay in the game for that reason, be a little bit of a
But would
shield.
you put all the
I
work
wouldn't
in
No,
to
I wouldn't put the work in if it
your
was
game?
easy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If it was easy. Um yeah, I would not waste all my social capital on Jay. I'd probably just like, if it was leading that way and I just had to like convince like one person or maybe two,
Right.
then I would probably pull Jay, keep Jay over Betty, but no work. Well, that is the episode. Thanks, Jonathan, for hanging out and chatting about it with me. Do you have anything going on that you want to share with the people?
No, it's all top secret. You know how it is.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, you guys know the drill here with me. Subscribe, please. Add me on all those socials. Super fun. I mean, I'm not really that active, but I try to be. If you interact with me, I will interact back with you. Absolutely. Like this video, please, if you're watching this in the replay, which most of you probably are because you're still watching Survivor 42 right now.
And
And
then the
leave
Masked
a
Singer.
comment. Say again.
And then the Masked Singer. Don't forget.
I'm taping the Masked Singer right now, to be honest. And so please leave a comment. What percentage chance do you think that Jay has to stay in the game, in the house? And who do you want to be the next head of household? Who do you want, Jonathan? Would you like to see their reign of power or terror?
I want Moose because I want it.
You're frozen, Jonathan. Oh, you want Moose?
I'm home.
Oh my
I
god,
want
you're
Moose.
watching the premiere. It was low key. It low key is good. Yeah, I'm gonna watch it right now, and then I'll cut out the commercials. I'll catch up to you guys. So, or like maybe I'll be like 15 minutes over, but I'm going to be caught up very soon. Moose. I think that I want to see.
Just because it's gonna blow up in his face. Like that's like I just want like the downfall of Moose, basically.
Okay, I could watch the downfall of Moose. I also wouldn't mind seeing maybe a Summer head of household, see what she does with it. Like, I want to see her get into the game a little bit more. I want to see her having a little more strategy talks. I want to see her maybe position herself a little bit better, hopefully.
Or
So
or one of the underdogs, like someone who's like not really super connected right
I'll take a
now.
Kevin
To see
HOH.
how that would kind of change
Kevin
it.
HOH would be great, I think, actually.
So yeah, there's a few options, good options there.
So hopefully, yes, the Masked Singer is being recorded. Well, Survivor is being recorded. The Masked Singer is being recorded, and there's probably one other show being recorded right now. Definitely, Betty would be funny as head of household. I don't know if I want her to have power. I'm not sure. But I would love for Marty to be taken out. So that would be great. So I'll
Yeah.
take it, Betty. I'll take most people having an out of just maybe obviously we can't get Marty again, so I don't want that. And I don't necessarily want Kyle. I don't necessarily want Gino. But anybody else I can probably handle. Anyways, have a good night.
All right.
Enjoy your premiere night.